Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to be making homemade pizza with homemade mozzarella, homemade crust, and homemade sauce, all vegan. So we're going to start with the mozzarella because it takes a while and we want that done first. So what you're going to need for the mozzas, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of raw cashews, and you need to soak them in hot water for 15 minutes. You're going to need a 1/3 cup of coconut oil. You're going to need a 1.5 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 2 tablespoons of agar powder, 2 tablespoons of tapioca flour or tapioca starch, same thing, a teaspoon of lemon juice, salt, and maple syrup. So, you got to soak your cashews for 15 minutes to soften them up, and you will also need a blender for this. So, I drained my cashews, I placed them in my blender, and I added all my other ingredients into the blender, and I blended it until it was creamy. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our blended mixture and we're going to add it to a pot. Oop. We're going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to stir while this comes to a boil. Once this starts to boil and the edges start to boil, you're going to, sorry, kids. So you're going to bring this to a boil, and once this starts boiling and the sides of the pot start to get bubbles, you're going to cook it for about another 1 to 2 minutes. And at that point, it's going to start to thicken up. And when that thickens up, we're going to pour it into some containers. So I got these little containers here because it will be refrigerated. So I'm going to let this come to a boil, and then when it starts to thicken and stuff, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so my mixture is boiling. It is thickening up. So I'm going to let this cook for another 1 to 2 minutes. I'm going to show you what it's looking like right here. So here is my mixture. It is boiling. As you can see, it has started to thicken. We're going to go ahead and just stir this constantly. You don't want this to burn. You don't want this to stick to the bottom of your pan, but we want this to cook. So it's been So we're going to let that cook. Let that go. Hey, I said I was a bad cameraman. So sorry about that. So I'm going to let this. Hey, now you can see me. I'm going to stir this up. Almost. So yeah, as you can see, it's just starting to get nice and thick. So what I have for my containers are these cute little, I just get them at the store. They're not that much, they're like $1. They're nice and convenient, and that way once you put this in the fridge and let this harden up and turn into mozzarella cheese, it's easier you can dump it out and you can slice it and place it on the pizza or however you want to do it. When I first started making this, I kind of it was just sloppy. So it's nice to have some nice little containers to put it in. You can also put it in like these little glass containers, like these things. You can do that. I might do that so we can see it because the blue ones, aren't translucent, but those are. So we'll put them in those so they can be transferred. So now I'm going to put my mixture, because it has been cooking, I'm going to pour it into these containers. You just want to divide it up. I'm sure you could put them both in one, but why do that? So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to place these in the refrigerator. And we're going to, so we're going to place these in the refrigerator. So they look really good, very pretty. And they got to be in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. So that's going to congeal, you know, get cold, get hard, get that mozzarella stretchy kind of feel. So I'll be back in 2 hours and we will see what we look like. And then we'll actually, about 2 hours, we'll start the sauce and the dough. And that way, this has plenty of time to do what it needs to do. Thank you. So we're going to work on our dough right now. So the first step we're going to do is you need a packet of some kind of yeast. You'll need some sugar and some warm water and salt. That's all you need for the bread. So the dough, I should say. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the yeast and the sugar and the water together. We're going to mix it up and we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. So I have 1.5 cups of warm water, warm, not hot. I'm going to add my packet of yeast and 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to whisk this up and I'm just going to let this sit till it's foamy and the yeast starts to activate. Okay, so here we are. Our yeast is foamy. And now we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add salt, a teaspoon of salt. And 3 cups of water. One, 2, and 3. I have 2 bowls going here, so I'm just going to go ahead and, so I'm going to make 2 pizzas today. So I'm going to go ahead and do this at the same time because they got to rise. So, okay. Now, we're going to mix this up. Once your dough gets mixed in with the liquid and the yeast and the water, you can go ahead and stop using the spoon. Make sure your hands are clean and you're going to start kneading your dough. And it's going to just start forming a nice dough here. Okay, so I'm going to form it into a ball. I'm going to leave it in this bowl. Now, if you want, you can place some oil and coat that just to keep it from getting kind of dry on the top. And then we're going to let this, I'm going to put a wet towel over top and I'm going to put it in a warmer area. Like maybe on top of the stove if your stove is warm or somewhere tucked away where it's warm. And we're going to let this rise 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, so my dough has been about 45 minutes. And it looks like this. Okay, so what I like to do, let me see, I'm going to try to get you a little bit better here. Okay, I like to put a little bit of oil on my fingertips. And I'm just going to pull. This is what I do. This is, you can do whatever you want. I just think it makes it easier when I'm stretching it. Now, just so you know, this is a way that my grandmother and my great-grandmother made pizza. They made it on a cookie sheet. And we didn't use mozzarella. We just used Parmesan cheese. So I am going to do half and half for you. I'm going to show you the difference of it, how I do. I'm going to use the vegan mozzarella that I made. And then I have some vegan parm that I made. Now the vegan parm is cashews, nutritional yeast, and that decel salt, and a little bit of garlic powder. And and I just put it in my little small blender and blend it up. Now, as you can see, it's looking all ragged, but you know what? That's okay, because this dough stretches. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get my crust going first. I am not an expert at this. Now, my grandmother, on the other hand, and my great-grandmother, they could throw this down in no time. Unfortunately, I feel like the pizza dough is my worst talent when it comes to some of the cooking stuff. I just don't think I'm as talented as I could be. So what I did now is, as you can see, is I have my whole lined all around. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to push all these larger areas that have, you know, a lot of dough in and fill those holes. And it works, believe me, it works. Like I said, I'm not as talented as some. And I like to use my palm of my hand. I push it around, dig it in there. So it'll work. It'll get there. It'll get there. It'll get there. It'll get there. So, and as you can see, I got lots of dough hanging out up here. So I just mash it down. Mash it down in there. And as I'm doing this with my fingers, I'm using, I'm making little holes or little dents with my fingertips. And what that does, it's going to have a place for the sauce to sit when we sauce this. Now, sauce-wise, you can make your own sauce, however recipe you want. Or you could just buy one. Just buy a sauce. Just read the recipes. There's all kinds of sauces that are vegan. The little more expensive ones, you could find, you know, they're usually vegan because they're, you know, and they don't have a lot of preservatives and stuff in it, which is really good. But if you're a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to want to make your own, using either your water or your vegetable broth to fry up your onions and your garlic and all that stuff. So, and here is my dough. As you can see, nice and filled in, lots of divots. I got a crust, and there it is. So, now my next step is I'm going to sauce it. I'm going to, we eat ours with fried hot peppers on it. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and, we're going to go do that next. So I have my oven on 425 degrees. And once that comes up, you're going to bake it for about 12 to 14 minutes. Just watch it, like I said, depending on your oven. So this is my homemade sauce. So I'm going to spread it on. Now, you don't want to go over the top. This is sort of like a thinner crust pizza. You know, it's not thick. You don't want it to be too overloaded with sauce, so you can't eat it. But just push it all the way. I push it all the way up to almost the edge. Ooh, except for there, I pushed it over the edge. So just Saucing my pizza, saucing my pizza. And like I said, this is just the way that we always did it. And I just veganized this recipe. So this is my sauce pizza. See how it's not really insanely full of sauce? So, yeah, so that's that. Now my next step, what I'm going to do is, this is my homemade cashew Parmesan cheese, Romano, whatever you want to do. It's really good. This, I think, is the key. This fleur de sel salt is really delicious in it. I got that recipe from the Buddhist chef. So if you want to look that up in his book, he has a cookbook. I got that recipe from it. It is, I think it's the best one that I've made. I've made all kinds. If you should follow him on Instagram or Facebook, whatever, you can follow him. He does a lot of great recipes. So I'm sure he prefers you to buy the book. But you could also, if you can't afford the recipe book, he usually just gives them for free. He does them. So, so what I'm going to do now is take my, there's my oven. I had it set for 425. I'm going to sprinkle just like it's Parmesan cheese or Romano. I should say Romano. We used a lot of Romano, Asiago, Pecorino Romano. We didn't use a lot of Parm. It just wasn't as strong as we liked it. We liked the stinky cheese when we were growing up and everything. Stinky cheese, the better. So, now these are my homemade fried peppers. Those are definitely not whole food plant-based because they are fried in oil and they sit in oil. So what you want to put on your pizza now is your choice. But this is how we ate it, and I'm not completely whole food plant-based yet. So one day I will. But I did make my sauce without oil. Kids are fighting. I'll be right back. I've returned. So I put my peppers just sparingly over our pizza. I'll start on this side. Ladies, stay away from each other. In a minute. They're hurting each other. Hey, they say girls are easier than boys. Oh, if you're a boy, Mom, I feel so bad for you. Try having two girls. Please. 16 months apart. I'll throw down for it with any boy, Mom. Don't talk to me at all. See? Stop. I'll be back. Quarantine's been rough. But we go back to school in a week from tomorrow. So this time next week, we will be getting ready to go back to school. That's what we'll be doing. So I'm going to just show you the pizza without the mozzarella, with just our fried peppers on it. Okay, I'm just going to show you that. So that's what that looks like there. Now I'm going to do the mozzarella. So I have my mozzarella in the refrigerator. I will pull that out. Now, I guess, you know what? I'm going to do a total experiment with you guys. I'm going to try to grade this. This came right out of my thing. I already made my one pizza with sliced mozzarella. I'll show you that. But then I have this. It came out of my thing just like that. I have not tried to shred this. So I'm wondering if that will do that. Oh, holy mackerel. Mamma mia. Look at that. Now, it is a little goopy. Like, as you can see, it's kind of, but this is, I think if it sat longer, it's been about 3 hours, so I think it could have sat a little longer, but it sliced. Oh my goodness, I'm very impressed with this. So yeah, so I'll show you what I did with the other one. What I did with the other one is I just kind of sliced pieces and like rolled it a little bit out with my tiny little rolling pin to make it stretch all the way over the pizza. Because the one thing with this mozzarella, it does melt, it does get brown, it looks beautiful, except for it doesn't spread like cow's mozzarella cheese. So like if you're looking for that that look of it spreading, it doesn't do that. So let me show you. Let me take care of my hands because there's kind of like, it's kind of like a little gummy, but nothing to fear because it washes right off. But here is what it looked like when I grated it. Now, isn't that cool? Okay, I'm very happy with that. I have not grated it before. So there's the grated. Now, here's what I did with the other one. I sliced those very thin, and I kind of like rolled them a little bit. I have a tiny little roller, and I rolled them out just because I didn't even think about trying it with the little cheese grater. So I'm super excited to see how this turns out. So I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'll see you soon.